Hi, everyone, and welcome to Module 3. So given that we are going to be discussing inventory management, information technology, and automation within this week, I just did a presentation at Georgetown University a couple of weeks ago, and that content, those topics are aligned perfectly with what we're discussing this week. So when we're talking about inventory control, whether you are a manufacturer, a distributor, or retailer, you're going to have inventory regardless of what area of the supply chain in which you're in. Now, in order for that inventory to be at the right place, at the right time, and the right quantities, it's going to require information. You need to understand how much that store, that distribution center, that retailer actually needs. That's why collaboration is very important from a supply chain perspective. Now, ways in which organizations are increasing the optimization in their supply chains is with technology and automation. Right? So this screen here is one I've been using for almost 2 decades, and it provides you with all of the technology and in some cases automation that goes into a distribution center or a manufacturing facility. So if you look on the right-hand side, if we look at the bottom of the pyramid, we're talking about production processes. So going back to the week when we talked about manufacturing iPhones, there are going to be a number of sensors and signals to trigger the individuals need, one, when they need to produce product, and two, when products need to be stopped or when processes are completed. For example, so if I'm manufacturing 1,000 iPhones in a particular day, I am not going to be 100% dependent upon humans to understand when the processes are complete. I'm not going to depend upon humans to understand when a iPhone is defective. Right? There are sensors in place to sense when an error occurs in a manufacturing facility. Also, whenever we are shipping out all those products, there are sensors on the conveyor belts where when we're going from one part of the warehouse to the other, there's sensors where if there's any type of error, I get notified immediately from a automation perspective. Also, when we look on the right-hand side, we say manufacturing execution systems. So when we are producing products, not only do we have a manufacturing execution system, an IT system in place to let me know what need to produce, to let me know what are the parts that go into this particular product, but also the MES will tell me what steps that need to be taken in order to produce that particular product. Right? And then at the top of the pyramid, we have something called ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. That's our ERP systems. That's the SAPs. That's the Oracles. That's the Infor products that gives me the visibility of all of my distribution centers, all my manufacturing facilities, and it gives me real-time feedback in terms of, okay, what's being produced in California, what's being distributed right now from California to Maryland, for example. All that's being presented in real time within the ERP application. So if you have a large organization like Apple, where, like we said before, Apple doesn't produce any products. So they have to have real-time visibility on what's being produced by a third party, right? So now that's where we have the technology to integrate, to feed into Apple's ERP application so they know what's being produced by a third party in real time. right? Now, some organizations aren't advanced as Apple, so they'll have something referred to as a supplier portal. So within that supplier portal, they can collaborate with their suppliers to understand what's being produced, what's the on-hand inventory levels for my raw materials, and things like that from a technology perspective. So visibility, collaboration, and communication are very, very, very important from a supply chain perspective, especially if you're like Apple or other organizations that outsource their operations. So, one topic that we talk a lot about within a number of different classes is AI, where, as you can see, the whole term of artificial intelligence is at the bottom of this AI umbrella, which I refer to it as, whenever I say AI, I refer to it as augmented intelligence, that technology that is going to augment my daily processes. It's going to increase the productivity for myself as well as the employees within the organization. So if we look at down here, I'm just going to point out a few. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if we look at artificial intelligence, once we get to the forecasting portion of this class, artificial intelligence can actually look at all of my data that's in my ERP application, and it can actually choose the best forecasting tool based on the type of product it is. So based on the movability of the product. So if I have screws, it's going to choose a forecast copy method, for example, where it's going to take the previous forecast from last year and copy it to this year, look at how much growth I've had, and then increase or decrease by a certain percentage, right? If I have other products that are trending, that are seasonal, for example, I'm going to use a totally different model, right? Where I'm going to put a trending factor in there. But the key is, with artificial intelligence will be able to identify what products are seasonal products. It will be able to identify what products are trending products. And then it will prompt you to change the forecasting method so you get more accurate forecasts and reduce your forecasting error. Okay. Also machine learning. So a lot of people will say that they're using AI, where indeed it's just simply machine learning, right? So machine learning is a lower level of artificial intelligence, where machine learning would look at a website, for example, scrape that website and look and retrieve information from that particular website based on the data only in that website. Right? Where artificial intelligence takes it a step further, in that it will take that information and it will predict the next step in the process. It will predict the next step in the decision-making process, where machine learning just looks at the current data, outputs the current data without any kind of predictions using like statistics and things like that. Right. So some people, say that, it's dumb AI, it's a lower level AI, but machine learning, we've been using it for years and years. Okay. So it's a lower level of artificial intelligence. When it comes to robotics, that's where automation comes into play, where if we look at Amazon has introduced hundreds of thousands of robots across all their distribution centers, right? Now, the problem with technology, or the misconception, I should say, with technology, is that we feel that AI and robotics will take over jobs. Now, that is the case, but that is in a good way. By that, I mean, there are a number of people that are reaching retirement age in these distribution centers, in these warehouses, and there's more and more working age adults that are now going to college, right? So those working age adults are not going to take an hourly wage by working in these warehouses. So now, once people retire, then we're going to have a gap. We're going to have a need for individuals within these particular tasks, right? That's why you see Elon Musk and Tesla developing robots, within Tesla, because those robots are primarily created to perform those repetitive tasks that humans, one, don't like to do, and two, there's going to be a gap in the workforce in the near future. So we're going to have a need for robotics, right? So whenever we say robotics in a supply chain discipline, I'll say that there is a need for robotics within the supply chain discipline, because there's not going to be individuals to replace our grandparents, right, and our parents that are reaching retirement age, and given that you're going to National University now. Are you going to work in a factory for hourly wage? You're here for a reason, right? Now, because of that, that's why there's going to be an increasing need for robotics within the supply chain space. Okay. Now, getting a little more detailed. So we went through machine learning. There's going to be 3 different methods of machine learning. I'm not going to go through that in detail, but unsupervised learning, supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. If you want to go through that in more detail, you can put in the link below. There's also a number of different YouTube pages where you can go into different machine learning models. And then the last thing I want to talk about, so we talked about AI, we talked about machine learning, but there's one concept that you may be familiar with now. So if you work for an employer now, there is another lower level. So there's AI, there's machine learning, and then there's business process automation. So within business process automation, you'll see this referred to in some ERP applications referred to as workflows, right? So business process automation is where there's a step-by-step process that we set up in the ERP system. And then once these triggers have been met, then that's going to kick off notifications and emails to the person that needs to act upon that particular action. You've probably seen that at National University, where once you submit a ticket, for example, or a request, you'll get an automation email. That's business process automation. That's workflow, right? So again, that's just another lower level of automation within business. People have been doing this for a number of years from an automation perspective. But as we wrap up, all organizations need some level of automation within their business in order to compete, especially in the age of AI, when more and more organizations are implementing either machine learning, they call it AI, but it's really machine learning, and some foundational, some introductory AI tools within the organization. So given that your competitors may be at this level, there needs to be some level of automation so that you can compete and keep up and provide the level of customer service that your competitors will provide, because they have automated their processes. So that's all for this lecture. I hope this was helpful, and until next time.